All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into the work of Kase Dean.
Okay.
He's a guy who's all about helping businesses scale.
Right.
But not just any kind of scaling, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about sustainable growth.
Yeah.
The kind that doesn't burn you out or leave you constantly chasing trends.
Yeah.
We've got two sources to kind of guide us through this. Kase's own website.
Okay.
And a really insightful article that I found that digs into his commercial direction philosophy.
Yeah. You know what I found really interesting about his website?
Okay.
Is that it doesn't shy away from kind of the struggles that businesses face.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about entrepreneurs feeling overwhelmed, making decisions based on guesswork, pouring resources into, growth strategies that just don't deliver.
Oh, absolutely.
Sounds familiar.
It's like he's reading the minds of so many business owners out there,
Right.
who hasn't felt that pressure
Totally.
to keep up with the latest marketing fads.
Yeah.
Or struggled to get their team on the same page when it comes to growth.
Totally. And that's where Kase Dean steps in, right?
Sure.
He's got over 14 years of experience helping businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And he's noticed this pattern, right? It's not that companies lack, talent or passion.
Right.
It's that they often lack a clear strategic framework
Right.
to guide their growth.
Okay, so let's get into the heart of this, right?
Yeah.
Commercial direction.
Yeah.
The article dives into why Kase chose this as his focus.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just some fancy buzzword, right?
Right.
He defines it as this art
Yeah.
of connecting sales, marketing, and operations.
Yeah.
To work together, seamlessly with the goal of generating revenue.
Right. And it's about recognizing that these departments aren't these, isolated silos, right?
Yeah.
Kase believes that true growth comes from, aligning them strategically, making sure every effort contributes to the bottom line.
So it's like a symphony orchestra. Right. Each section has its own part to play.
Yeah.
But it's the conductor, in this case Kase, who brings it all together.
Yeah.
To create something really harmonious and impactful.
Exactly. And the article highlights 3 compelling reasons why Kase chose to specialize in commercial direction.
Okay.
The first one being it perfectly aligns with his own strengths.
Okay.
He's not just a marketing guru or a sales whiz.
Right.
He's a strategic thinker
Mm-hmm.
who sees the bigger picture and understands how all the pieces fit together to drive that profitable growth.
That makes sense. So he's not just offering a Band-Aid solution.
Right.
He's looking at the entire commercial ecosystem of the business.
Exactly. And that leads us to the second reason, impact.
Okay.
Kase realized that many businesses were struggling with revenue, not because their marketing was bad,
Right.
but because of deeper underlying issues. We're talking about misaligned sales processes, inconsistent pricing strategies,
Right.
or even a lack of, team structure and accountability.
So he's addressing the root cause,
Totally.
not just the symptoms.
Exactly. By taking this commercial direction approach, he's able to connect the dots between marketing, sales, and operations to create that smooth, sustainable revenue growth.
Okay.
And that brings us to the third reason, working with the right businesses.
Yeah, the article mentions that he's really focused on helping specific types of businesses.
Right.
Who are those ideal clients?
So Kase specifically targets growth-oriented SMEs, service-based organizations, and startups that are in kind of a transition phase.
Okay.
These are the businesses that he believes can truly benefit from this approach.
Makes sense. These are often the businesses that are experiencing those growing pains.
Yeah.
They have ambitious goals, but they might lack the internal resources or the expertise to navigate all the complexities of scaling up.
Absolutely. They need someone who can provide that strategic guidance and help them put the right systems in place to be able to handle that rapid growth without falling apart.
Okay, so we've got a good grasp, I think, on what commercial direction is all about.
Yeah.
But how does this approach actually translate into, tangible benefits for businesses?
Yeah.
Kase's website mentions things like clarity, empowered teams, streamlined systems. Can we unpack that a little bit?
Of course. Essentially, Kase's approach is designed to deliver a few key outcomes.
Okay.
The first being it brings clarity to the entire business operation.
Right.
Everyone understands the goals, the strategies, their role in achieving success.
Okay.
This leads to more empowered teams who are confident in their ability to execute the plan.
So it's like everyone's finally reading from the same sheet of music.
Exactly, totally.
Okay.
And then there's the streamlined systems. Kase helps businesses create, efficient, scalable processes, ensuring they can handle growth without things, breaking down. He's all about creating systems that work smarter, not harder.
That sounds amazing. But are there any concrete examples of how this plays out in the real world?
Yeah.
How do we know this isn't just a bunch of fancy promises?
Kase's website states that in just 90 days, you'll experience a transformation, clarity, focus, and a commercial strategy that drives results.
Wow. 90 days, that's pretty bold.
It is, and it speaks to, his confidence in the process that he's developed. He's not promising, overnight success, but he is committed to delivering tangible results within, a specific time frame.
So let's talk about that process, right?
Yeah.
Kase's website outlines a 7-step approach to commercial direction. And I'm curious to kind of hear more about how he breaks down this complex concept into these manageable steps.
Absolutely. I think it's fascinating to see how he guides businesses through this journey. And it really showcases his, strategic thinking.
Well, I'm all ears. So let's dive into the first step.
All right. So step 1 is all about audit and align.
Okay.
This is where Kase really digs deep into the business's current operations. He's looking at their strengths, identifying any gaps, weaknesses, uncovering those, hidden opportunities.
So it's like assessing the terrain before you start building a house.
Precisely.
You need to understand, the landscape, the soil conditions, the potential challenges and the unique opportunities that the site offers.
Exactly. Okay. And then we move on to step 2. Set clear goals.
Right.
This is where Kase helps businesses define those measurable objectives that are aligned with their overall vision. It's not enough to just say, we want to grow.
Right.
You need to know exactly what you want to achieve, by when, and how you'll measure success.
So we've got the foundation, and now we're establishing the blueprint for our dream house.
Yeah.
What comes next?
Step 3 is all about targeting and messaging.
Okay.
This is where Kase helps businesses, pinpoint their ideal customers and craft a message that truly resonates with that target audience. He's not a fan of scattergun marketing.
Right.
He believes in laser-focused precision.
So it's about making sure you're speaking the right language to the right people.
Exactly.
You don't want to be shouting into the void.
Right.
You want to be having these meaningful conversations with those who are most likely to become loyal customers.
You got it.
All right.
Now, step 4 is where things get really interesting. Build sustainable systems.
Okay.
This is where Kase helps businesses streamline their workflows, create those efficient, scalable processes.
Right. So we're not just building a house.
Right.
We're making sure it's built to last.
Yes.
We're talking about solid foundations, sturdy walls, a roof that can withstand the storms.
Exactly. It's about creating systems that can handle growth without breaking down. And then step 5, actionable campaigns.
Okay.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Okay.
Kase helps businesses implement, revenue-focused strategies designed to generate measurable results.
So now we're putting our blueprint into action.
Yes.
Starting to build the walls and install the plumbing. It's all coming together.
Precisely.
Right.
And then we move on to step 6, team mentorship.
Okay.
Kase recognizes that, a plan is only as good as the people executing it.
Right.
So he focuses on equipping the team with the skills and confidence they need to own the process, drive those results.
It's not just about handing them a set of instructions.
Right.
It's about empowering them to become skilled builders, capable of constructing something truly remarkable.
And finally, step 7, analyze and refine.
All right.
This is where Kase emphasizes the importance of continuous improvement.
Okay.
He helps businesses track their progress, analyze the data, and make adjustments to optimize their performance.
So even after the house is built, we're not just walking away. Yeah. We're constantly looking for ways to improve the energy efficiency.
Yes.
Update the design.
Yeah.
Make sure it meets the evolving needs of the family.
Exactly. It's about embracing that mindset of continuous learning and improvement.
This has been incredibly insightful.
Good.
But Before we wrap up part 1, I want to touch on something that's been swirling in my mind.
Okay.
We've talked about all the positives of, Kase's commercial direction approach.
Right.
But what about the flip side?
Yeah.
What are the potential downsides for businesses that don't embrace this kind of holistic thinking?
Right.
What are they risking?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's definitely something we need to explore.
Yeah.
Let's delve into those potential pitfalls in part 2 of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good.
So many businesses just get caught up chasing those shiny objects, trying to hack their way to growth with, the latest tactic or trend.
Yeah.
But without that solid foundation that Kase Dean really emphasizes,
right.
Those quick wins, they often just fizzle out,
right,
leaving them right back where they started.
It's like building a house on sand, right?
Exactly.
It might look impressive at first.
Yeah.
But that first storm that rolls in is going to expose all those weak foundations.
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest risks that businesses face when they don't take, that holistic approach to growth.
Right.
They might see some initial results, but it's not sustainable.
Right.
And without that alignment between, sales, marketing, and operations, there's a real danger of things falling apart as they try to scale.
So it's not just about the speed of the growth.
Right.
It's about the quality and the sustainability of that growth.
Yeah.
It's about building something that can weather the storms and stand the test of time.
Precisely. And that's where Kase Dean's commercial direction philosophy really comes into play.
Right.
He helps businesses avoid those common pitfalls by creating that roadmap for growth that's strategic, aligned, and, built to last.
Okay, so let's dig into some of those specific pitfalls.
Yeah.
You mentioned a lack of alignment between departments.
Right.
What are some of the consequences of that disconnect?
Well, one of the most obvious consequences is wasted effort.
Okay.
Imagine your marketing team is generating leads, but those leads aren't being properly qualified or followed up on by the sales team, or maybe your operations team is struggling to keep up with the increased demand because the systems aren't in place to handle the growth.
Right.
It's like everyone's working hard, but they're not working together effectively.
It's like a football team where, the offense and the defense aren't on the same page.
Totally.
You might have some talented players, but if they're not coordinated,
right.
you're not going to win very many games.
Exactly.
Right.
And that lack of alignment can lead to all sorts of problems,
Yeah.
Missed opportunities, frustrated employees.
Yeah.
And ultimately a failure to reach, those ambitious growth goals.
Another thing that kind of comes to mind is the risk of becoming too reliant on tactics instead of strategy.
Oh, absolutely.
I see this all the time with businesses that are constantly chasing the latest marketing trend.
Yeah.
Without really understanding how it fits into their overall growth plan.
It's like they're playing whack-a-mole with their marketing efforts, jumping from one tactic to the next, without a clear strategy to guide them.
Yeah.
And the problem with that approach is that it's incredibly difficult to, measure your progress or make, informed decisions.
It's like trying to navigate a maze without a map.
Totally.
You might stumble upon a few shortcuts here and there, but ultimately you're going to end up lost and frustrated.
Right. And that's why Kase Dean emphasizes the importance of having that clear commercial direction. Yeah. It's about understanding your target market, your unique value proposition.
Right.
The key levers that are going to drive, sustainable growth for your business.
So it's not about abandoning tactics altogether.
Right.
It's about using them strategically.
Exactly.
And making sure they're aligned with your overall goals.
Precisely. It's about being intentional with your marketing efforts.
Yeah.
Choosing the right tool for the job.
Okay.
And that leads us to another critical risk that businesses face when they don't take that holistic approach.
Yeah.
Scalability?
Scalability.
Yes.
The ability to handle growth without things falling apart.
Right.
This seems to be like a recurring theme in Kase Dean's philosophy.
It is, and for good reason.
Yeah.
Many businesses, they reach a certain point and then they hit a wall. They might be generating leads, closing deals, but their systems and processes just can't keep up.
Right.
With the increased demand.
It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly.
Right. Eventually, something's got to give.
Exactly. And that can lead to all sorts of problems. Customer service issues, production delays, bottlenecks in the fulfillment process, all of which can damage your reputation and ultimately hinder your growth.
So it sounds like taking this commercial direction approach isn't just about, maximizing growth. It's also about mitigating risks.
Totally.
And building a business that's resilient and adaptable.
Absolutely. It's about creating a business that's not only successful, but sustainable and built to last.
We've been talking a lot about the strategic and operational aspects of, Kase's approach. But I'm curious about, the human element. How does his philosophy impact, the people within the business?
That's a great question, and it's something that Kase really emphasizes. Remember that step in his process, team mentorship. It's not just about, giving people instructions. It's about empowering them to own the process and contribute their unique talents.
So it's about creating a culture of ownership and accountability where everyone feels invested in the success of the business.
Exactly. And that kind of culture is essential for sustainable growth. When you have a team that's aligned, motivated, and empowered, they're capable of achieving incredible things.
It's like the difference between a group of individuals rowing in different directions and a synchronized rowing team just gliding effortlessly towards a common goal.
That's a perfect analogy. And that's what Kase Dean helps businesses achieve. He creates that synergy, that alignment, that sense of shared purpose that's essential for, long-term success.
This has been incredibly insightful. But before we move on, I want to kind of pause for a moment and really connect this back to our listener. Why should they care about Kase Dean and his commercial direction approach? What's the takeaway here?
I think the key takeaway is that, whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur, a budding business owner, or even someone who's just curious about the world of business, understanding this concept of commercial direction can be incredibly valuable. It's about looking at business growth through a different lens, a lens that emphasizes strategy, alignment, sustainability.
So it's about moving away from those quick fixes. The Band-Aid solutions. And building something that's truly built to last.
Exactly. And Kase Dean provides a roadmap for doing just that. He offers, a framework for aligning your goals, streamlining your operations, empowering your team to achieve those ambitious growth objectives without sacrificing their sanity or burning themselves out.
And perhaps most importantly, it's about avoiding those common pitfalls that can just sabotage your success and derail your dreams.
It's about setting yourself up for sustainable growth without the overwhelm, the wasted effort, or the endless guesswork.
Well said.
Thanks.
We've been focusing specifically on Kase's approach. But I'm curious, are there other perspectives or methodologies out there that offer alternative paths to sustainable growth?
Oh, absolutely not. The world of business is full of, diverse ideas and approaches. In fact, I think it would be fascinating to explore some of those alternative perspectives in our next segment.
You know what? I think you're onto something. Let's shift gears and dive into some of those other compelling frameworks in part 3 of our deep dive. All right, so we spent a good amount of time exploring Kase Dean's commercial direction philosophy. And, I got to say, it's a pretty compelling approach to sustainable growth. But as we all know, there's never just one way to skin a cat, right?
Absolutely. The world of business is like a diverse ecosystem, and there are countless paths to success. It's all about finding that approach that really resonates with you. Aligns with your goals, fits the unique challenges of your industry and your stage of development.
Okay, so let's broaden our horizons a bit. What are some other frameworks or methodologies that, businesses might want to explore when it comes to sustainable growth?
Well, one that comes to mind is the lean startup methodology. Have you heard much about this one?
Yeah, the name definitely rings a bell. It's all about rapid experimentation and iteration. Right?
You got it.
Kind of like a ready, fire, aim instead of a ready, aim, fire.
Exactly. It flips the script a bit. Instead of spending months or even years crafting the perfect business plan, it encourages entrepreneurs to get a minimum viable product, or MVP, out into the market as quickly as possible.
So it's all about action, testing, and learning from, that real-world feedback. I can see how this could be really appealing, for startups especially.
Yeah.
In those fast-moving industries where the landscape is constantly shifting.
Absolutely. It's about embracing uncertainty, being willing to pivot based on the data that you gather.
Right.
And while it might seem kind of chaotic on the surface, there's actually a very structured approach to this methodology.
Okay, so how does this lean startup approach compare to Kase's, commercial direction philosophy?
Right.
They both seem to emphasize data and analysis.
They do, but the key difference lies in the initial focus.
Okay.
Remember how Kase emphasizes that audit and align phase?
Yeah.
Where he digs deep into the business's current operations,
Yeah.
aligns their goals before jumping into action.
It's like laying a solid foundation before you start building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The lean startup methodology, on the other hand, is all about, getting something out there quickly.
Yeah.
And then using that customer feedback to guide your next steps.
Right.
So it's less about the upfront planning and more about rapid iteration based on real-world data.
Okay, so it's not necessarily about, one approach being better than the other.
Right.
It's about choosing the right tool for the job.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Kase's approach might be more suitable for, businesses that already have some traction and are looking to, scale strategically.
Right.
Whereas the lean startup methodology could be a game changer for early stage startups who are still trying to figure things out.
Absolutely. It's all about context.
Right.
Now, another fascinating framework I think is worth exploring is the blue ocean strategy. Oh. Have you come across this one?
The name sounds familiar, but I can't quite place it. Refresh my memory.
Yeah.
What's the blue ocean strategy all about?
In a nutshell, the blue ocean strategy encourages businesses to create uncontested market space.
Oh, okay.
Rather than competing head-to-head in, existing crowded markets.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
So it's about finding those untapped niches where you can be a big fish in a small pond.
That's a great analogy.
Right, instead of fighting for scraps in this crowded ocean.
Exactly. And it challenges businesses to think beyond, those traditional industry boundaries.
Right.
And create new value propositions that make the competition irrelevant.
So it's about innovation.
Yes.
Differentiation. Finding those blue ocean opportunities where you can chart your own course.
Totally.
And really dominate a market that you essentially create.
Exactly. It's about being a pioneer, not a settler.
Right.
And it requires a different mindset.
Yeah.
One that's focused on creating new demand.
Okay.
Rather than fighting for, existing demand.
It's fascinating how these different frameworks offer, such distinct perspectives on growth, right?
Yeah.
Kase Dean's commercial direction is all about, aligning internal systems, creating that roadmap for sustainable scaling.
Right.
The lean startup methodology embraces agility and rapid iteration.
Totally.
And then the blue ocean strategy encourages us to think outside the box.
Yeah.
And create that uncontested market space.
And that's just scratching the surface.
Right.
There are countless other frameworks and methodologies out there, from agile development to design thinking to the jobs to be done framework.
Right.
Each offering its own unique insights and tools for achieving that sustainable growth.
It's almost overwhelming, isn't it?
It can be.
Like standing in a giant toolbox with a million different options.
Totally. But that's also what makes it so exciting, right?
Right.
The key is to approach it with, a sense of curiosity and a willingness to experiment. Don't be afraid to, try different approaches. See what works best for your specific business and goals.
So it's not about finding the one right answer.
Right.
It's about being open to learning and adapting along the way.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the journey.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about, exploring these different frameworks.
Yeah.
It sparks new ideas.
Right.
Challenges our assumptions. Encourages us to think differently about, how we approach business growth.
This has been a fantastic deep dive.
Good.
We started with, Kase Dean's commercial direction philosophy, explored the lean startup methodology, the blue ocean strategy, and, really just scratched the surface of a whole universe of these business growth frameworks.
Oh, really?
It's inspiring to realize that there are so many different paths to success.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of it all, isn't it?
Yeah.
The world of business is constantly evolving. There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to achieve.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listener with?
I think the most important thing is to be curious, to be open to new ideas, and to never stop learning. The more you understand about, different approaches to business growth, the better equipped you'll be to navigate the complexities of the market and achieve, lasting success.
Well said. And remember, folks, knowledge is power.
Yes.
The more you know, the more you grow.
And on that note, we'll see you on our next deep dive.
Okay.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
See you next time.